Number 6. Ford Thunderbird 1958 to 1960. The original 1955 Thunderbird was a two-seat sports car that competed directly with the Corvette and won admirers across the country. For 1958, Ford made a decision that enthusiasts have never fully forgiven. They added two rear seats, gained 800 pounds, and transformed what had been a nimble driver's car into a four-passenger luxury cruiser. The T-Bird went from sports icon to comfortable compromise in a single model year, and the buyers who had made it famous felt the betrayal immediately. The 1958 to 1960 models were not just a philosophical disappointment, they came with genuine mechanical problems. The complex retractable hardtop jammed regularly. Power accessories failed ahead of schedule. The sophisticated suspension developed faults that dealers struggled to resolve on the first visit. The car that had defined American personal luxury had traded its identity for volume, and the damage to its reputation outlasted the model itself. Number 5. 1957 to 1958 Chrysler Windsor. The Chrysler Windsor looked like a breakthrough when it debuted for 1957. Virgil Exner's forward-look styling gave it dramatic fins, a low roofline, and a sleek, modern shape that made many rivals look instantly dated. Under the hood sat a 354 cubic inch V8 producing up to 285 horsepower, and on paper, the Windsor seemed like exactly the kind of bold new Chrysler that buyers wanted. The problem was that Chrysler rushed the entire 1957 line into production before the manufacturing side was ready. The Windsor quickly developed a reputation for severe rust, poor paint durability, water leaks, and trim pieces that loosened or fell off far too early. Owners also reported squeaks, rattles, and assembly flaws that made a new car feel old almost immediately. Consumer Reports took the unusual step of refusing to recommend any 1957 Chrysler product because of quality concerns. The Windsor wasn't a failure of design, it was a failure of execution. A beautiful car built badly enough to damage confidence in the brand at the exact moment Chrysler should have been gaining ground. Number 4. Nash Ambassador, 1957 to 1959. By 1957, Nash had already merged with Hudson to form American Motors, and the Ambassador was supposed to help prove that the new company could still compete in the full-size American market. It offered credible hardware for the period, including a 327 cubic inch V8 with up to 285 horsepower, and on paper, that gave it a legitimate chance to stand against larger rivals from Ford, GM, and Chrysler. The problem was that the Ambassador struggled to stand out in a positive way. Its styling was unusual and often divisive, especially at a time when the major Detroit brands were moving toward lower, wider, and more conventionally dramatic designs. Even buyers who respected Nash for practicality often found the Ambassador less appealing than its competitors. That made the car harder to sell in a market where appearance mattered as much as specifications. The Ambassador was not one of the most catastrophic mechanical failures of the decade, but it also did little to strengthen Nash's position during a difficult transition period. The Ambassador represents less of a pure engineering disaster and more of a full-size car that failed to give buyers a compelling reason to choose it over the competition.
Number 3. Renault Dauphine, 1957 to 1960. The Renault Dauphine arrived in America in 1956 carrying a promise of European economy motoring, and for a brief period it found an audience. Sales peaked at over 100,000 units annually, genuinely impressive numbers for a French import in the late 1950s. Then owners started living with them. The 845cc engine produced 27 horsepower and required over 30 seconds to reach 60 miles per hour, a figure that made merging onto American highways a genuine calculation rather than a routine maneuver. The performance was forgivable in the context of fuel economy and practicality. The reliability was not. Rust appeared at a rate that shocked owners even in dry climates. Electrical systems failed with a frequency that made them effectively optional in practice. Engines overheated in city traffic, and the 4-speed manual transmission was bulky enough that smooth gear changes required practice that should not have been necessary. By 1960, Consumer Reports had placed it among the worst cars available in the American market, and Renault's reputation, built on the promise of sensible, economical European engineering, was effectively destroyed in the United States for a generation. The Dauphine is the cautionary example of what happens when initial curiosity meets sustained disappointment at scale. Number 2. Dodge Custom Royal, 1957 to 1958. The Dodge Custom Royal was, on first impression, exactly what the late 1950s demanded. Soaring tail fins, a 325 cubic inch V8 producing up to 310 horsepower, and a silhouette that turned heads on every street it traveled. It looked like the future. It drove well enough when everything was working. The phrase that matters is when everything was working, because for a significant number of owners, that condition was temporary. The 1957 Chrysler products, of which the Custom Royal was part, were rushed to production on a timeline that the manufacturing processes were not prepared to support. Body panels rusted within months of delivery, not years. Electrical systems failed regularly and without pattern. Paint quality was poor enough that cars acquired a weathered appearance after a single season. Dodge dealers were overwhelmed with warranty claims at a moment when the brand had every commercial reason to be celebrating a successful redesign. Resale values fell quickly as the reputation spread through the used car market. The Custom Royal demonstrated something that buyers of that era learned the hard way. A car that looks like the future but is built like a rushed afterthought will be remembered for the afterthought, not the styling. Number 1. Ford Edsel, 1958 to 1960. Ford invested over $250 million in the Edsel, a figure that translates to more than $2 billion in today's terms, and built a marketing campaign around it that generated anticipation on a scale the automotive industry had not previously attempted. The vertical grille design, which Ford's internal research had validated and which the public immediately rejected, became the most discussed car styling decision of the decade. Ford expected to sell 200,000 units in the first year. They sold fewer than 65,000. By 1960, the program was canceled. The commercial failure was significant enough on its own. What made the Edsel's legacy permanent was the combination of that failure with genuine mechanical problems that the hype had made impossible to overlook. Push-button transmission controls failed regularly, oil leaks were common, paint peeled ahead of schedule, quality control across the production run was inconsistent in ways that were especially damaging given how much Ford had publicly invested in the car's promise. Buyers who had been persuaded by the marketing arrived at dealers and found a product that the marketing could not justify. The Edsel is not remembered simply as a car that did not sell. It is remembered as the most fully documented example of what happens when an entire industry convinces itself that anticipation is a substitute for substance. Ford eventually recovered. The Edsel never did.